The Gospel according to Matthew chapter 5.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to the disciples, "You have heard that it was said to those of an ancient times, 'You shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment.' But I say to you that if you are angry with your brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, 'You fool,' you will be liable to the hell of fire. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has done something against you, leave your gift before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser. You're on the way to court with him. Your accuser may hand you over to the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce.' But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery. Whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, 'You shall not swear falsely, but carry out the vows you have made to the Lord.' But I say to you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Do not swear by your head, for you cannot make out one hair white or black. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Throughout our time of Epiphany, or this growth season, we are reading through the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' most famous sermon. It's a sermon that he gave very early on in his life and his ministry, when the crowds and the disciples were just beginning to follow him. And so as we read through this sermon, we're discovering that it's really just an explanation of what it means to follow Jesus. The first week we learned the crucial step where you begin. And Jesus said it's about learning how to discern who is blessed and who is not blessed. And as we learned that, it turned our definition of blessed upside down. Last week we discovered the second step, which was, after having identified who is blessed, now we're supposed to become salt and light to those very people. The third step was, don't privatize your faith. It's something that American churches do very well. They take your faith and your faith development, and they make it a personal thing that's just about you and God and your experience of God. And Jesus very much encourages the disciples, don't privatize your faith. It's not all just about you. This week, we're going to continue as we learn yet another step about following Jesus. In our gospel lesson, and remember, this is one long continuous sermon, and it builds each week off of what we've learned in the previous part of his sermon. But this week, we get to the part where Jesus starts talking about God's commandments. Now, we have to remember that for the nation of Israel, the commandments, the law, and following those commandments was at the heart of how they structured their lives. It was everything to them. It was their goal for living. It was how they judged their own spiritual development by how well they could follow these commandments. It was incredibly important to them. And Jesus is going to tell them, basically, you got it all wrong. Your whole way of looking at commandments and why follow them and how you follow them, it's all off-based. From the very beginning, you misunderstood. And thus, ways that they've structured their lives is all off. And the result of the fact that they've structured their lives in such a way that was just not the way that God wanted was that their relationships are very, very shallow. As Jesus goes through these commandments, and sometimes it's hard for us to understand because we have to remember that Jesus is speaking to specific situations in that culture over 2,000 years ago. Specific habits or ways that the society treated each other. And so he's going to take murder, adultery, divorce, and everything else, and he's going to turn upside down the way that they view those commandments and say, you don't understand anything. You're all guilty of murder. You're all guilty of adultery. If any of you have ever gotten in an argument and called someone a fool or an idiot, you've committed murder of their spirit. That's what Jesus tells the crowd. If you've ever looked at another person and had a lustful thought, you've committed adultery. And the consequences for those sins is that. That is where you're at. But it's more than just that about what you deserve. It's what has happened in your relationships in your life. And we know this because with each of these commandments, as Jesus redefines them, turns them upside down, he gives a instead comment. Instead, do something else. And each of those instead comments is all about changing the way that they relate to people in very significant ways. Some of the details might be lost on us, but what's not lost on us is this pattern that Jesus challenges the way they've structured their lives, which is all around how they follow God's commandments, because they're way off base. And because they're way off base, their relationships are shallow, and they're not experiencing life the way that God intended them to do. And so that brings up our first kind of takeaway, or our main truth. And this is so important, so let's put that up there. Our spiritual development happens when our capacity to have deep, meaningful relationships grows. And as Jesus is trying to get at the heart of the problem, they don't have the ability to have deep, meaningful relationships because they're too consumed with structuring their lives around following these commands that they've totally misunderstood. And we can't miss this basic truth as we interact with these commands and Jesus' reinterpreting of them. Because what the church sometimes do is that they fall into the same trap the Israelites did. They think, okay, the Israelites got it wrong, they just didn't understand it, they didn't obey it in the right way, I'm going to obey it in the right way, and I'm going to force everybody around me to obey it in the right way. And yet we fall into the same trap with just a different false interpretation of these commands. So Jesus is getting at this. And so if you remember something from this reading, remember that truth. Our spiritual development happens when our capacity to have deep, meaningful relationships grows. And of course, Jesus, being the guy that he is, knows that that's kind of an vague statement, and so he's going to give them concrete lessons all throughout his ministry to help them understand that following Jesus means spiritual development, which means your capacity to have deep, meaningful relationship grows. And so from the very beginning, Jesus is going to start giving them illustrations about how they follow him, how they structure their lives, so that their ability to have deep, meaningful relationship grows. Let's look at one of those examples. What happens when Jesus calls the first disciples? We touched on this a couple weeks ago, but I want to touch on one story, because we're going through the Gospel of Matthew. And I want to remind you about the story of who Matthew was. When Jesus called his disciples, he called a very diverse group of people. There were fishermen, there were women who were called, there were educated people, there were zealots, those were people who were fighting for the freedom of Israel against Roman tyranny and oppression. There were very religious people that were called, and there were very unreligious people called. There was one person who was very different than everybody else, and that was Matthew, whose original name was Levi. You see, Matthew was a tax collector. And what a tax collector was someone who was utterly despised by every other segment of society around them. Worse so than somebody who was a leper. At least lepers had other lepers that they could live with and commune with. Tax collectors were despised by everybody. Tax collectors were people that betrayed Israel. They're Israelites that betrayed Israel and worked for the Roman government. And their job was to collect money and give it to the Roman government. And how they made money for themselves was like this. They had to collect a certain amount of money, and if they could collect above and beyond that, well, they could keep whatever extra they collected for themselves. That was basically how it went. And so if you could become more and more wealthy by being more vicious in your tax collecting methods, then you get where that went, right? So the Israelites saw the tax collectors as people that worked for the enemy and betrayed them and made their lives miserable by increasingly being harsh with the taxes. The Romans saw them as people who betrayed their own kind, as dirty snakes who weren't worth the price of anything except the fact that they could provide a service that the Romans wanted. They weren't accepted by anyone, and they were reviled. At least the people who were sick or demon-possessed had something happen to them that they had no choice over. The people who were tax collectors chose to be this way. So they had a special part in society where they were just rejected and treated horribly. And that was okay with them because they were rich. They could do whatever they wanted. Jesus meets Levi as he's walking down the road. He's sitting in a tree, and he invites Jesus to his house for dinner. Something no self-respecting Jewish person would ever do, especially someone who had a kingdom to build. And what does Jesus do? He says, okay. And he goes into his house for dinner. And that very act of stepping into his house sent a message that rippled all across Israel. This is the kind of person Jesus is. This is the kind of person he hangs out with. Those people are no good. Those people were traitors. And Jesus takes his disciples and drags them with him to this home of Levi the tax collector, attitude. And it's a powerful lesson when Jesus says, okay, if you're going to follow after me, you're going to have to learn how to have deep, meaningful relationships. And in order for you to do that, you're going to have to associate with people who are different than you. You're going to have to learn to love and care and respect them, even if they're despicable people who do horrible things. That's what it's going to mean to follow after him. The disciples didn't like it. They didn't enjoy it. They went dragging their feet. But Jesus ordered them to do it until they did it. And it was hard, and it was uncomfortable. And it required change. And they got into arguments over it. And they didn't like it. They kept doing it because Jesus called them to do it, as difficult as it was. I think of our church, not just our church, but the whole of the Christian church in America. And one of the things that we have failed at is this very thing. Inviting people into our community who look and act differently than us. It's easy to be welcoming to people who are similar to us, but it's difficult to allow people to come into our inner world. Not just come here on Sunday mornings and sit in a pew somewhere in the same vicinity as you. But I'm talking about allowing people to come into your inner world, to come into your house for dinner, to talk to you, to be with you. That are radically different than you. Trying to think of who represents, what kind of stereotypical people in our society represent this kind of a tax collector to the American church today. And the first thing that came to my mind is transgender people. Transgender people are some of the most difficult people to understand because they're people who reject how they were born. They say, no, there was a mistake, it didn't work that way. I wasn't supposed to be this way and I want to be different. And for many Christians, that is a hard concept to even understand or relate to. And so what do Christians do? They say, no. There's something wrong with you. And you have to get yourself corrected and straightened out and stop being the way you are if you want to be part of my life, my inner world. And it's one of the worst attitudes that Christians have. Why? Because Jesus told us the exact opposite. When he met Levi, he didn't say to Levi, change your ways and then you can follow me. Change your ways, be a better person, and then I will come into your house for dinner. No. Right away, Jesus said, yeah, I'll have dinner with you. I'll allow you, and I'll invite you to be part of my inner world. That's what Jesus did with Levi. And it cost him. Cost him in his reputation. Some of his family members wouldn't talk to him because of this. There were many other implications, but Jesus said, this is the right thing to do. I will invite those who are rejected to be part of my world. This is what the church, for the large part of North America, fails at doing. Problem is, our spiritual development happens when our capacity of deep, meaningful relationships grows. And if we're not willing to invite those who are different than us into our inner world to learn how to love them, then we're not going to develop deep, meaningful relationships, despite what we might think. And our spiritual development is going to be stunted. That's the challenge of following Jesus. Learning to go to uncomfortable places, to associate with people who are radically different than us. And it doesn't have to be a transgender person. It can be someone, well, for some of you, it's inviting a Democrat over for dinner. Or for some of you, it's having a meal with a Republican. It's someone who's radically different than you. Maybe it's someone who has a different color skin. Maybe it's someone who is a different age than you. But take time to notice someone who is just different than you and learn to invite them into your life and learn what it means to listen to their story and to love them as Jesus loved Levi the tax collector. Doing so is part of following Jesus. Doing so is part of our spiritual development, which allows us to find healing and grow in our ability to love, which will have ramifications all throughout our life and help us to have deep, meaningful relationships. Amen? Amen. Our takeaway for today. Following Jesus means inviting someone who's radically different than you to your inner community to learn what it means to love and accept them. That's our next step. And that's what Jesus is getting at as he redefines these commandments. He's telling them you need to restructure your lives so that you can have these deep, meaningful relationships that you are rejecting because people aren't like you. We're going to follow God's commands in the way that you think they ought to be followed. Let's stand for our song today.